Hey there, my name is John Agroni. I'm the film editor for theyoungfolks.com, and I also host the Cinemaholics podcast where I talk about movies all the time in even more detail. I haven't been around in a little bit, but I am still publishing reviews on Cinemaholics all the time, so definitely check out that podcast if you're interested. So, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. At one point, when I was watching this movie, one of the characters sees that Sonic now has another like CGI tuned space alien friend named Tails, and she says the same thing, I kid you not, the same thing I did when I heard that this sequel had been greenlit. Not the same exact thing, but pretty close. Oh Lord, there are two of them now. That is exactly my feeling with this movie, because yes, we do have another Sonic movie, and this one is based on both of them are based on the hit video games that really went on to define the Sega console generation during the 90s. That's my own childhood era, to be clear, so I have plenty of nostalgia wrapped up into this franchise. And once again, this is going to be directed by Jeff Fowler. He directed the first one. That was his, I believe, his live action directorial debut. He's back for the sequel, which makes sense because the movie made a lot of money. We have Ben Schwartz returning to voice the titular Hedgehog. He even makes a little bit of a reference to his breakout role in Parks and Recreation, so you'll notice that. Jim Carrey is back as the dastardly tech villain Robotnik, or Eggman. And we have James Marsden and Tika Sumpter as Sonic's adoptive human parents. So joining the cast this time around, we have Idris Elba, who voices Knuckles, a brawny space echidna who teams up with Robotnik to bring down Sonic. We also have Colleen O'Shaughnessy, I think I'm saying that right, as Tails, a yellow fox with two tails who can use them to fly. And yeah, Tails is essentially like a Sonic fan who traverses the universe to warn Sonic that Knuckles is coming after him. And it should also be noted that O'Shaughnessy also voices Tails in the more recent video games, so it's a nice little surprise for fans of the games. So probably the nicest thing you can say about Sonic the Hedgehog 2, or at least that I'm going to say, is that it's much truer, I think, to the wacky, zippy, and obviously breezily adventurous video games compared to the first film. I think the first film, this one does feel more like a grand adventure with a variety of interesting locations. It's not just like a rural small town and then, some San Francisco. In this one, we're going to a lot of places. We're going to Siberia. We're going to remote islands. And, the film even opens on like a bizarre mushroom planet where Robotnik was exiled in the first film. Unfortunately, I think the anything goes philosophy of these Sonic movies also kind of stretches to the endless pop culture references and instantly dated jokes that they amount little more to, hey, remember this thing that was a meme like 6 years ago? It's that kind of speed. The film is at its most entertaining when Sonic contends with like various villains in like a competition of who can be the biggest stinker. He's constantly quipping like Spider-Man and usually succeeding, and all of that stuff really works because it's based in a comedy and a sense of humor that is its own thing. It feels a little bit less like we're just flossing because you know what flossing is, if that makes sense. The effects, they still have like a low rent charm, I think, where the computer animation, it sort of does away with any concerns whatsoever about the uncanny valley being an issue, which I actually appreciate. I think it would be virtually impossible to make the audience believe, at least with current technology, that a cartoonish blue hedgehog is actually talking to James Marsden on a rowboat in the middle of a lake. Like, you're never going to make that convincing. So why bother overdoing the effects, making them really serious just to make everything look more uncomfortably real, whatever that means? Like, the movie goes back and forth between its cartoon logic and its live action logic with confidence. Like, it kind of knows what it's up to. Even if none of it really holds up to any actual logic or consistency, you can pretty much rely on this movie as a very entertaining distraction machine with the script and visuals that are going to keep your mind from constantly asking questions about how does any of this really work, or why is any of this happening? I have to say, though, the bulk of the criticisms do come in with the plot, which is really just like a shameless MacGuffin chase scene with hopelessly predictable found family lessons about growing up and coming of age, making new friends, being a hero. Literally none of it is even remotely unique or stands out in terms of story or how it even tries to shake up the formula, which it doesn't. But that's probably the point. The last time that Paramount tried to take a risk with this property, namely with the design of Sonic himself, it backfired tremendously. It set the movie back months and millions in terms of having to revert Sonic's character look. And I think rightfully so, as it's much better. But it is sort of emblematic of Paramount just being like, we're just going to give the fans exactly what they want. Nothing more, nothing less. That's a lesson that they learned. And I understand why. It certainly makes business sense. But, it's hard not to think that this could have been something more. And then I kind of come back around. I'm like, well, it's Sonic. Like, what else do you want? Like, this is something that's going to make people really happy. And it's something that's not going to like mess up the goodwill they have with the fans. So I personally don't have a big issue with it. If anything, it's funny though, the most audacious choice the film makes is to sell the audience on Idris Elba as the voice of this red echidna who doesn't understand idioms and metaphors, as if we haven't seen that trope done in at least one blockbuster a month since 2014. It's getting pretty tired. But, that's all Sonic the Hedgehog 2 really is. It's just a lap around every other action-adventure movie to come out during the 2010s, kind of reconfigured into like a soupy, overlong mashup of really a decade of movies that we probably won't be able to process until the generation that grew up playing Sega games maybe starts having grandkids. That's quite a thought to have. So I have to say, I do not hate this Sonic movie. I didn't hate the first one. I think that these are perfectly pleasant and entertaining movies that are going to make the fans happy. And, people who are genuinely curious are going to watch it. And I'll be honest, I didn't remember much of anything that happened in the first movie. That's probably what's going to happen with the sequel. But they're video game movies that basically play it safe. And they have good reason to play it safe. I don't think that this is a franchise that really calls for super original filmmaking or is something that people expect or want from it. So if you're that person, great news. It's another Sonic movie. It's basically just as good as the first one. And it has, if anything, a nice extra few quirks and touches that make it as fun as the video games could be at times. So I won't say it's like a full-on level up, but it's pretty close to it. So that's Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It's going to be coming out in theaters this weekend. I think that's April 8th or whatever it is. I forget. You'll be able to check it out pretty soon in theaters. I have a feeling a lot of you will be anxious to give it a shot. I do apologize talking about movies. I have been gone for the past couple of weeks, so I didn't have time to do The Lost City, which I enjoyed. Good movie. I didn't have time to do Everything Everywhere All at Once. Terrific movie, one I'm still kind of processing. And what was another one that I just saw that I didn't do a review on? There's a whole bunch, like Apollo 10.5 and all these movies I've been seeing, but Morbius, that was the other one. I have seen these movies and I will be talking about them on Cinemaholics. I don't know if I'll have time to get to videos or do written reviews for them anytime soon. Very busy time for me right now. But whatever comes out, I'll be sure to put my all into it, and I'll see you all on the next one. See ya.